Hey everyone. Yeah, I thought I'd give you a little bit of an overview, non-spoiler on, well, yeah, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. And I will say this, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, to me, uh, now, whoa, the chair here needs to be replaced, but anyway, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, to me, quite honestly, I'll be honest. I saw some of the beginning. Basically the intro. Basically how they started kind of going towards finding and trying, you know, trying to find and disimprove or the fact that there's some games buried in the Amagono Desert and stuff like that. So we got to that. I mean, I like the beginning because, again, like I say, not to give much away, but the fact that you have one of the lead characters, the female interest, the female lead here, basically telling her company that the plan is to do a sequel, but to do a sequel that's even worse than the original, I think's kind of funny because she's basically saying, hey, the reason we do this is because this guy, the nerd, will review it, and by him reviewing it, people will buy it. So, yeah, it's really good, and it shows that the nerd does more than just videos. It kind of, he works sort of at a parody of GameStop, and it's really fun. It's really good. And the cameo appearances, you just gotta spot them, but they're there. Right off the bat, the first cameo you get from any internet stars, stars, yes, but internet reviewers and stuff like that. The first person you get is Andre of Black Nerd Comedy. You get him first, and he's the one that kind of helps initialize the thing, and I think that's his only appearance unless he appears in the crowd when they show up, and by following the nerd to the burial site. I think he shows up in the crowd there. I'm not really sure, but he is the first appearance out of the internet personalities that we've all come to know and love. You do get Doug Walker in there as the nostalgia critic, but you don't get him as the critic. You just get him as himself. You get him like you see his appearance in the last like 15, 16 minutes of the film. And I'm sure any critic fans were jumping up going like, when they saw on the screen, just being happy to see him there. But yeah, he's in there. Again, they showed some other people, like during the intro, they showed people from Retroware. They showed some reviewers doing like the last 15, 20 minutes, doing that climax. It's just a nice little dish of cameo appearances by internet reviewers and stuff. And they even get some people that were behind certain games and franchises. Like they get the guy behind Toxic Crusaders and or Toxic Crusader, who did a review with James in one of his nerd episodes. They got him in there. They got actually the guy behind the game, Henry Woshar, I think that's his name, to make an appearance, to be part of the game. And it's just, to me, just a nice, I think Doug said it best. Doug Walker said it best in his review. It's basically the ultimate fan film. It's basically a film, financed by fans, done by a fan, for the fans. And I don't think truer words could ever be spoken. And yeah, just trying to think. I don't think any much more could be said about that as far as how good it is. I mean, it is good. It's funny. It's good. It's got a lot of references to his previous episodes, like the whole situation with Top Gun. There's a situation there where it's like, okay, he's gonna basically try to obtain the goal that he's been trying to obtain in Top Gun for a while, and obviously the only way, if you watch his nerd episodes, the only way he's ever been able to obtain that is through the Power Glove or something. So, but yeah, he references that, and it's like, he's referencing that, and he's determined to do what he couldn't do in the game until he's like, the heck with this, and like I said, not until he decides against it and decides to go another route. And like I said, yeah, I'm not trying to give much away for those that haven't seen it yet, but who am I kidding? There's a lot of people who've probably seen it. A lot of people have come to the multiple screenings around the country. In San Francisco, Los Angeles, wherever, in Canada. So it's definitely. I can say this. I don't know if they did a screening or so in Modesto or Turlock, but I can say this: if they did, then you guys definitely got your money's worth with it. Just a really good effort on everybody's part, especially James, who's been determined to do this for years. But just a really good effort, and I really look at an Angry Video Game Nerd movie as being like the first of many movies based on his character. And as far as the story goes, behind the story, as far as the movie puts it, as far as the story goes when it comes to the ET cartridges, I like the fact that they kind of throw in a little bit of a government conspiracy, and basically that the reason ET was buried, the ET games were really buried, was because the government had some secrets on the games they didn't want people knowing about or anything like that, and they had material basically that was on the game that they didn't want nobody to know about. So just really good, and the ending for the film, as far as the villain goes, as far as one of the main villains, the climactic one, the monster, it's one that will make you laugh and all that, kind of get you joking around like, really? That was why that's why he's been this way? It's like, whatever. And I will give credit as well. I like the fact that to avoid copyrights, they changed the cartridge covers of the ET game, so that way they wouldn't suffer any copyright issues. And overall, just a very enjoyable film. Like I said, honestly, I saw the beginning, kind of skimmed through the middle part of it, kind of get an idea of what was going on there. We'll rewatch it. But from what I've seen from the beginning, skimming through somewhat of the middle, and then watching the ending, and from hearing what other people have said, obviously, it's definitely worth watching. It's definitely worth, downloading off Vimeo or even a torrent if you get it like that. But it's definitely worth watching and enjoying. It's it's real cheesy fun. It's basically a tribute to a lot of the genres of the past. A lot of the sci-fi horror genres. You got the satire genres. You got all these, and it's really good. It's a really good tribute to all those genres of the past, and I love. And again, I have to agree with Doug here. Even though today we live in a world where major studios would depend more on CGI than anything else for special effects, monsters, and all that, here you have you have James saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go in this direction, and we're going to pay tribute to the classic B movies, and we're going to go person in costume. We're going to go set up little sets, for certain scenes. And you could just see that, and obviously, like, oh, that's obviously fake, but it's fake in a good way because it's a tribute to the classics. There's a scene where the lead girl, Mandy, she gets captured by one of the main villains, the last villain, if you will, through, I guess, one of his magnet tails or something. And again, I'm not trying to give much away, but she gets captured by his magnet tail, and basically they do a shot after she's basically magneted onto it. They do a shot basically where she's supposedly on this tail still and is swinging around like this, but you can obviously tell that's not really the actress Sarah. I think that's her name, Sarah. It's not really her, but it's actually a doll. A doll that they put on there. You could tell. And again, that's all part of the good cheesiness, because it's a tribute to the classic genres and all that of the past. And it's funny because oh my gosh, that's supposed to be her, but it's obviously a doll, you know. And there is, like I say, a reference, and like Doug Walker also said, there's a reference to Ninja Turtles, sort of a reference, a nod to Ninja Turtles 3, and that's towards the end as well, not to give much away. And just overall, you could tell what's what's real, what's legit, and what's fake, and what's basically the fakeness being the tribute to the B movies and all that. So you could tell, you could see that. You can really see that. And again, you do get your cameos. Like I said, Doug Walker's in the last 16-something minutes, along with several other cameos. So you'll see that. Again, just overall good fun. And I give James a round of applause. I give fans out there a round of applause who are able financially to contribute to the movie. So I give you guys a round of applause. And I give anybody that's part of this round of applause as well, production-wise and all that. You guys, because they just really pulled it off. And again, I haven't watched it fully through. Like I said, honestly, I've watched the beginning, skimmed through a bit of the middle to get an idea, and then kind of watched most of the ending, basically the climactic ending. And like I said, I have to say it's one of the best independent films, satire films, whatever you can think of. I mean, when they say it's kind of on the level of Wayne's World, kind of in that same area, yeah, you could tell it is, because just how it's made and all that. And you can also tell it's not just Wayne's World, but it's also kind of in the same veins of, like, say, Team America. It's because of the cheesiness of the props and all that. So, but overall, I definitely would recommend seeing it. Go to Vimeo if you want to rent it or buy it, or even if you feel like, hey, I help contribute to it financially, I'm going to get it through a torrent, go ahead and get it through a torrent. It's up to you. So, but basically it's just one of these films that when you look at it, you're like, well, this is a series that I watch on the internet, on YouTube. And either you watch it on YouTube, courtesy of, let's say, your video game system, like Xbox 360, Wii U, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, or your Roku system, your Apple TV, or your TiVo, or your mobile devices, or whatever, or even your computers. It is definitely worth watching. You could definitely tell that it's a step up from what he does on the show, from what he does on this web series. It's a step up in some areas, but you can also tell he's kind of kept it toned down to, what it's like. Like I said, it's with the tribute to the B movies and the satire and obviously the props, being obviously, kind of that tribute, being the props kind of being the obvious tribute as well. Again, the production value was a step up. The production was a step up, but James didn't lose sight of who he is, because there were times, it looked more like some shots, like let's see in his nerd room or something like that, were out of the series. You could see that, but yeah, the production was a little bit more up, and again, that's thanks to fans that were able to financially contribute. But overall, definitely worth watching. And again, if you're a fan of the nerd and a fan of James, definitely check it out. As for me, I think I speak for a lot of fans when I say I hope there's a sequel. And I know there's a sequel being made or being worked on, and I think everybody, including myself, believes that sequel has got to be based on Sword Quest. I mean, you have James basically reviewing the Sword Quest games like he did, as the nerd, and the way he ended it by saying, hey, this, the mystery needs to be solved. People need to know the answer. That is a good premise for a movie. And I think James should also help out in the future as well. I think, honestly, if James wants to do other movie projects, he should work with all the other internet reviewers he's worked with and become friends with, and help them probably achieve that goal as well. I mean, I would love to see a straight-out nostalgia critic movie, and I'm not talking a nostalgia critic movie that's named Kick-Assia or Suburban Nights or To Boldly